Welcome to our morning show on WRCO Radio. Riverdale District Administrator Jeff Campbell is here today to speak with us. He made it through the treacherous roads today. How were the roads, Jeff?
Yeah, they're all right now. Still spitting a little bit, but with the vehicle that I have, it's an older 2008 vehicle, so I'm not a great test for those roads all the time.
Good to have you. I know you made the decision last night for Riverdale to not have school, and I know a lot of your district is in Grant County, so that's probably part of it. It looks like it's going to be a little heavier down there.
Yeah, I think so. I think anytime you have some type of like a weather warning, you really watch to see what's coming from that and see if they keep that forecast kind of the same. But, looking, kind of waited a little bit later to last night to look at, the 9 o'clock radar and the news at that time to kind of see what they were thinking of and if it was still on the path that they were projecting. And, sometimes it's better to make that decision, the night before for people, but it's not always, you're not always able to. And so it was just kind of a decision after seeing that and being in a warning area. It was important that we didn't put the kids at risk this morning out on the buses.
Indeed. And then Friday looks like another decision to be made, but I think that's later in the day at this point.
Yeah, it looks like right now, and that's what we're kind of planning ahead, because this was the last snow day figured into our calendar, or weather day, you would say, with the cold out there too, as possibility for delays or closures. So we're, preparing our virtual option now for the students moving forward for any type of weather day. So we want to get that information out to parents, later today and into tomorrow. So we are prepared if the track of Friday changes a little bit. But right now it looks like we should be in good shape to at least get the kids there, get them through most of the day, if not all the day, and then see the weather come in for the weekend.
You had to fly solo today, though, because your staff and students aren't there, so you had to come by yourself.
Yeah, that's all right. I guess I gotta fill the time now. It's the whole time we have here, but
we'll put you on the hot seat.
Yeah,
Jeff.
It's gonna be.
Well, we'll transition into the referendum then. So let's talk a little bit about that. Last time you were here, you touched on a little bit more. I think you've had a school board meeting recently, and you probably know a little bit more now, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Just kind of continuing putting out our plan of action as far as meetings and that go. I really encourage people to visit our referendum website right off the Riverdale homepage. That is going to provide you with a ton of information about the referendum, just some background information that you can have. And it has, I've got a video presentation on there that I taped about the referendum, my longer presentation, 20-some minutes. And then there's an FAQ page, very informative FAQ page. So anytime I get questions from community members, from staff, from, sometimes even students and families, we'll put those on there. And there's a number of them already on there. And that FAQ page answers a lot of those questions that people may have already. But I encourage, to reach out, because if you have one, I'm sure it's 5 to 10 people that might have the same thing. So it's important that I can get that out there. It can get answered, and you can get the information that you have. I plan on doing some short videos to answer some of those questions too, and publish those out there. We have a flyer that we have put out for about the last 3 weeks at our sporting events for families to pick up when they were there. We're planning it at our music events that will be coming up in the next month. And there'll also be a mailer that will go out to all of our district residents with just the more basic information. That flyer is also posted on our webpage for them to gather that, just get more educated on the reason that we are going to referendum. We also have, I've got a calendar on there of informational dates of when I will be holding question and answer sessions or giving that longer presentation that's videoed on there. And those will start at the end of February and then run through March. There's a number of different opportunities. I'll be at some of the township board meetings and village and township board meetings within our district, giving a short snippet about it won't be my long presentation, but it'll be a short snippet and allow people, if they're attending there, or board members to ask questions at that time. And, that's a great way that I can go back to the FAQ page and kind of fill that in too after those meetings. But there's some opportunities for, all district residents to get there and to get to an informational session that I'll be hosting. One thing a little bit new that we're doing, we're going to do some 10 a.m. meetings. So I'll be going to each community and doing morning presentations. I felt like that will allow, all of our constituents the opportunity, maybe some of our older constituents within our districts aren't able to get to those evening meetings. So I've got 10 a.m. meetings that a lot of them are out and about, and they're able to stop in, and I'll give the same presentation I've been giving at a lot of the other ones, and take any of those questions. We also have a place on our website where you can go in either anonymously or put your name down. It doesn't matter either way, and ask a question that way. You can fill out a Google form, you can submit it to us, and then there's a place if you want to personal response back just from me. I will get that back to you. You can leave your name and email address or phone number, or you can do it anonymously, and we'll put it on our FAQ page as a question to be answered. So that's out there. A lot of information on there, and that's kind of what we've been pushing so far with our referendum.
Has there been a common question, Jeff, so far?
I think, the one thing that we had answered the other, about 2 weeks ago, I got it with a community member. One thing we haven't talked about a whole lot is our mill rate and where our mill rate sits. And I think that's important to a lot of people within the district to know, where are you compared to other places? And right now, we're the lowest in the area. We're $6.43 is our mill rate. That's continued to drop over the last 3 years, pretty steady. And with the passage of a referendum, we're looking at moving roughly, and this is always an estimate because there's a lot of other things that figure into your mill rate. So we're looking at moving up to about $7, and I think it's about 48 cents is a projection, which would still put us near the end of area districts here, still one of the lowest ends of the district. So that was another question, and it's another thing that I put on the FAQ page that community. I was at a youth basketball tournament, and a community member came up to me and was asking me about that. So it's important to be visible. I encourage our people, if they see me around. I've also opened up, before or after school board meetings, you got some questions, you want to stop by and touch base then, that's fine. But call, email, those are important to get out there and get those questions answered.
I think people want to know that their money's well spent, and I think you can prove that for the money spent, you're getting a good return because, with your test scores and everything, it looks like Riverdale's getting a good education.
Yeah, I think so. And, part of our flyer is just to highlight some of the great things that we are doing there and the staff that we have. And part of our referendum, the money is to continue to have a quality staff and quality opportunities for students. That's what we're looking for. And if you have that quality staff that makes a difference in the kids, you can continue to produce those results, in test scores and in areas within the, CT area, the FFA area, giving these kids opportunities that, the additional credits that they can take moving on. And one thing we have on our website right now highlighting that is kind of a did you know feature, and that just says, gives people an idea of a little bit more of what we're doing. I think we're about on our fourth one now, and it just kind of highlights some of the things that maybe the person that isn't in the district every day doesn't realize about our district. And it's, this last one was, our 10th through 12th graders have the opportunity of going over and doing school service at the elementary, and we have a large number that do that, and that's a great mentoring program. And we've had huge success stories of, a teacher trying to reach a kid or a staff member, and you bring that, that high school aged mentor over, and all of a sudden that person builds a relationship, and that kid is a different person now and producing in the school. And I think we're trying to find any avenue we can just to get the word out and the great things that we have going on. That's awesome. You mentioned CTE, and that's CTE month, I think. Is it this month or coming up in March? It is, yeah. It's this month right now. I mean, we have a strong CTE program, and I know, some of our area districts also do. When you go to their districts and you hear things about them, I think this area does a wonderful job with that, and all the districts within, and just hearing some of the things that River Valley has been doing with some of their programming, just phenomenal. What we have going on. So, and we do a great job in our district too. And Tanner Williamson has taken that over from Sarah Pleckelman, more of the college and career readiness program coordinator, we call it. But that coordinator is just kind of an overseer and continues to push the CTE stuff. But I mean, we have 5 staff members, actually 4 others along with Tanner, Chelsea Clark, Todd McKay, Mark Harper, and Callie Coe, who work in that strictly in that department and provide those opportunities for those kids. One area in there is in the youth apprenticeship. That really took off for us in the last couple years. We had 41% of our eligible students that were part of a CT or a youth apprenticeship last year. That's 5 times the state average, and it was half of our senior class. It just shows the work that and the avenue these kids are getting, the experience they're getting at a high school age, to look into different avenues that they want. It's always good to kind of test some things out at that age to know, is this a path I really want to head into before you get into a couple years into training and you're like, this isn't where I want to be. So I think our youth apprenticeship program has taken off, and it's taken off in Southwest Wisconsin. And this is an area that I think is a leader in this development of these programs.
Very important. Yeah, you save money down the road, perhaps in college, if you maybe have a better idea what you want to do.
You sure do. Yeah, and part of that too is, we have the ability to teach courses because these staff members have gone ahead and prepared themselves professionally to be able to teach courses that prepare these kids, for those things, and they're very well respected and understand that they're at the top of their department, for that. And so we're lucky to have that opportunity. It's not the case all the time, and we want to keep that staff, and that trickles in, as I said before, with our referendum, is keeping these high quality people so you can offer these kind of things. And if we can do that, people are hard to come by. And anytime you have a great thing going in a program, it's because of the people you have. It's not necessarily one thing of the leadership. It's the individuals doing the work behind the scenes that make the biggest difference.
Jeff, your FFA has done some great things too, and I think National FFA Week is coming up here soon. So.
Yeah, we're going into that next week.
Next week.
Yep, they've got some things planned within the schools, some dress-up days opportunities, some opportunities just to kind of highlight our FFA program, which isn't difficult at Riverdale because there's so much that goes on all the time with that program. We've got kids heading all kinds of places. They'll head, which is called Day on the Hill, coming up pretty soon, where they get to go and talk to legislatures about different egg programming, and they kind of advocate for what they want. A great experience for our kids to do that, led by Callie Coe. And the kids do the talking. They go in there, they do the talking, they prep and prepare for that. And that's a big step for a high school kid to be able to do, to talk to an elected official. So, and that's just one of the small things we do. I mean, I encourage people to get to our FFA website, because you'll just see the amazing things that we're doing in our egg department, I want to say. And, we were recognized as a top 10 egg program, not FFA only, but entire egg program in our district. And we'll find out if we're, one of the chosen as the top egg program here coming up this spring. And we'll get some stuff out. There'll be an article going into our local paper about that and into our Facebook as we move here into the spring. But just a phenomenal program that, once again, is helping our kids in an avenue. We're a big agricultural district, and it's important then that those kids that kind of have grown up in that area continue to serve in that area.
They do so many amazing things. They sell some goods, and you have some animals around the school from time to time.
Oh, we do. Yeah. I always look forward to that. That's one of the benefits. I think, with our last referendum, the building one that we had, that was a huge addition, to our district, to be able to put that, the animal viewing area in there. It just draws so many people, into that area. We have everything you can imagine. Kelly works really hard. She's got a student helper that organizes it. We invite elementary kids to come over. Sometimes we take an animal or two over there. It's just, they're on top of things with that. We received a grant to put in some new gates in there to kind of help protect a little bit more. And she's will continue. It's drawing different kids into that. It's not just drawing kids in that necessarily grew up on a farm or in an egg environment. Now it's exposing kids that have never had that exposure, and everybody likes some of these little baby animals that they can bring in. And I tell you, it draws even more and more kids to your program, and she knows how to do it well.
100th day of school. It's amazing how fast the school year goes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because just the other night at the school board meeting, we approved the calendar for 25-26. And it's hard to think that you're like, wow, we're 100 days in already and we're approving for 25-26. Planning has already started for what that's going to look like before you even finish the school year you're in. So, yeah, our 100th day, all of our elementary really takes that day's an exciting day within the elementary, and some of them might need a little extra sleep today because they do get pretty excited about this day. And they do plenty of activities about this. I know in our younger grades they have the count up to the 100th day as they're working on their numbers and their number routines and that, and they just do a number of activities that make it exciting for the kids to build up for. And you reach your past the halfway point now, and you're thinking about that as the spring's coming in, and it just draws a lot more of excitement. Kind of gets the kids more excited about school as you've gone through this winter time. Luckily this year we've been done pretty well weather-wise, so the kids have been able to be out most of the time and out and about and still playing, except on the cold days. But yeah, it just draws more of an excitement into the building.
Last year, I know you had several students that were getting lots of college credits as the school year went on, and I think you even had one student that set the bar pretty high last year. Was it like
51 credits.
51
I think. Yeah,
college credits.
Sure did. And that was part of our Did You Know? He was one of our first ones that we put in there just to let people know this is an opportunity. And yeah, he set the bar really high and was also working, in a pharmacy, helping out there within the community here. And so that's a great step forward, and it's that programming that you have on top of the credits. You have like an individual like Michael Hernan that was working here at the station. Those are just experiences that, when we were kids, it'd be like, oh, that's awesome, to get that opportunity and to step into that role, and it just propels them forward because now they get out there and they can compete with these other students coming from much larger districts, and they have that experience, they have that opportunity, and it puts them right there with them. And I think it's a draw to families also to say, you know what, that's a good thing going on. Maybe I can get my kid there, and that opportunity can get them, and you don't feel like you're behind these other places that are that much larger than you. I think our small schools do a good job with that. So, and that program will continue on, and Tanner's doing a great job with that, Williamson, and he we have a number of students, again, that we'll put through for approval here in the spring for courses coming up next year in the fall, and then also for courses in the summer. So kids are taking courses pretty much year-round now through different universities to just kind of keep themselves moving forward in what they want to do.
In many cases, getting them into the workforce a little faster, too.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, that's the other thing, too. It's like you focus on the dual credit side of things, but a lot of those dual credit side is also the opportunity to get into that workforce quicker. And not all of our students are taking those courses with the thought of, I'm going to a 3-4, more years of college. They're thinking, I want to try to get my certification quicker. And one of our second Did You Knows was about the student last year that graduated with a welding associate's degree from the Southwest Tech, along with the high school diploma. So, and he's into the workforce right now doing that. So it's given those opportunities a little bit quicker and giving them the skills that they need to kind of go the path that they want. And some we pride ourselves on. We're not a strict push of any one direction. We want that individual push for each kid in the direction they want to go. And once they develop that plan, then we're going to say, okay, here's the best way to do that. And we can guide them in a direction that makes sense for them.
Extracurriculars are doing well this year again.
Yeah, they sure are. We had a nice win for our boys basketball team last night against Boswell. Great atmosphere for a game. Just the whole fans from Boswell, fans from Riverdale. It's always a great rivalry, and everybody was great. Just a good high school environment, last night for athletics. Kudos to both schools. It was just really fun. The parents were really positive. There was a lot of, back and forth with the cheering in that, and it just turned out the game, didn't disappoint right down to the wire. So that was a lot of fun. JV game also came right down to a couple free throws right at the end, and just a lot of great, it's nice to see that. It's nice to see that in athletics and high school athletics. And our girls basketball teams had a little break here, which is nice. They played a lot of games in a row, and they don't get back on the court over a week now until tomorrow night then. And then our wrestling team's gearing up for the tournament series, which is hard to believe too. Got through the conference tournament last weekend and into the tournament series this week.
Right, and the forecast sounds, again, equally not so good for this weekend, but I talked to Laura Selgaby last night at Richland Center, and you've hosted some of these events. The WIA says you will have these events, so you pretty much got to try to get there.
You're going to have to find a way, yeah. And then we'll just have to do the travel, what we need to do, because the WIA is not about postponing them. You need to find a way to get there and give those kids that opportunity that they've worked, hard all year for. This is the time that they've kind of put the time into to get ready to go.
I know, as former wrestling coach, we're getting off the topic a little bit, but you still follow the sport, obviously. Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the WIA proposal. It's still just in talks, but what are they looking at for changes for high school wrestling next year, Jeff?
Yeah, it's a pretty big change. It's something that they've put out there. The Coaches Association has done a nice job. I served on an advisory council with the WIA last year, the Coaches Association Advisory Council, and really learned a lot about the ins and outs of reasons why they do certain things and the process it takes. And this was one of the things that was talked about as kind of a starting point. There's a number of big changes, like you see the regional for the girls this year and the sectional separate for the girls this year. That was a big proposal that we pushed through last year, and also kind of the difference of getting every kid 2 matches at state next year. All of that was advisory council that we had pushed through too. So kind of the same group then, led by the Coach Association President Jason Loloff, went out, he formed a committee, and they looked at our qualifying series, and they wanted to know, what can we do to improve that? One of the big things that teams really don't, I wouldn't say really like about the qualifying process is that team sectional on a Tuesday night. You come off the regional, you go to team sectionals Tuesday night, then you got to turn around individual sectionals on Thursday, and that was a hot topic that a lot of coaches said we would like to see something changed. So they came up with the help. I think it was around 15 coaches from around the state. They pulled them from each division. They pulled them from each area of the state. They got together. They threw out all kinds of ideas, went through data from the state tournaments of the past and the process and the qualifying process. Really a pretty detailed, they've got a PowerPoint out there, about a 20-minute PowerPoint that really dives into, the reasoning why they're thinking of making some of these changes. And so it came down to trying to get 3 equal divisions pretty much. So you're going to see a Division 1 and Division 2 with the same number of teams, and then Division 3 will have the leftover number of teams, which gives Division 3 about 5 or 6 more teams within, which is all right too, because they said they think it kind of factors into this performance factor where your teams are being elevated based off their ability to do well in the state tournament series. So if D3 has a few more, that's all right, because most of your top D3 teams then are going to be moving up because of performance and factor. So they're really, even a little thing like that, they're trying to balance things out. What this does too, if you go with 3 equal divisions, is it gives the coaches an opportunity when you put proposals forward. It's the same for everybody, and so coaches will kind of vote then for things to move it forward, instead of right now you got like 16 qualifiers D1, 12 in D2 and 3. Everything's different, so it's like, oh, that doesn't benefit the large schools, but it benefits the small schools. Well, the large schools coaches won't vote. It's just that if we can get on the same page, then you can move more things forward. As far as the qualifying, it would go down to 1 weekend. You would have like almost like our super regional now would be like a sectional with about 16 teams in each of those sectionals. Top 2 individuals from that would go on to the state tournament. There would be 7 divisions, or 7 sectionals, they would call them, within the state. So that's going to put 14 kids at the state tournament in all 3 divisions. The reason for 16, not 16, doing 8, even number, is they said right now they want some room for growth. They're just trying to have this go a year and then see what happens. They have room for growth then, instead of going to 16 right away. The team component then will happen on the following weekend, which would have been your normal sectional weekend, will now be the team component. And the top 6 teams from each of those 7 regionals will go into a bracketed team tournament. And then the champion of that will go to team state. One nice thing is all 3 divisions then would have 8 teams down at the state tournament. Now, you're probably thinking, well, there's 7 divisions. How does that, 7 sectionals, how does that get 8 team? they would wrestle back to second, and they would have a wild card team. So if you're in a really, really strong sectional, you got two of the top teams, sitting in that sectional. That team could end up second, and they could be a wild card team that then gets chosen out. And there's a seeding procedure that they would go through to determine that wild card team. So kind of an interesting part. I think it solves that team thing. It gets more teams to the state tournament, and that brings more publicity and more to the sport and to the community and everything moving forward.
Sure. I can see that a fair way to determine the team. But, yeah, only one level to get to state is interesting. And then you would wait. It would be 2 weeks before you went to an individual state tournament then,
It
right?
would be. Yeah, you'd have a kind of a weekend there for that team component tournament to work out on a weekend. And, you kind of want to balance that out. That one level is interesting because it could be, you could really see 5-6 kids within the same sectional grouping, and you're getting two out. So that's some pushback I think they've received with it, but it's really a push to try to get equal membership in each division. You're getting more total kids down to the state tournament. If you total up the number of the three divisions now in this new way, you're getting more kids to the state tournament. Once again, more communities, the exposure of being at the state tournament, more teams in it. And that's what it is. It's about exposing, getting the sport out there. And with the increase of the girls, there's conversations there too. I think they're looking at their qualifying process for that, and you're going to see a team tournament within the next year or two for the girls, a team state championship too.
That'll be interesting as well. Yeah, lots of excitement for them. That would push your conference clashes, though, probably back into January a little bit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Actually, next year they are scheduling it back a week anyways.
Okay.
Not because of this. It was just kind of a coach's decision a couple years ago to say, can we move that back to give the kind of a week buffer in there before the super regional happens, because the number of matches, you're going from the clash right into a super regional where you wrestle 4 or 5, clash 4 or 5. It was a way to kind of break that up a little bit. So yeah, it's gonna impact conference tournaments a little bit. Teams, places will have to look at that. It doesn't add much of a weekend. It adds a little more excitement. The other thing is, since the super regional got put in, a lot of schools haven't been able to host anything. And that's, when they took away the small regionals, some of these small schools just don't have the ability to put 3 mats in their gym or 4 mats in their gym. So the super regionals, they don't get an opportunity to host those anymore. And a lot of times that was nice because those small schools could host it. Now they're hoping that maybe, they could do that. There'd only 2 mats would be needed for this team portion. Maybe those smaller schools then would have the ability to be able to host some of those events at their schools. So there's a lot going into it, a lot of change going into the wrestling, the wrestling, state wrestling stuff that the WIA is looking at, and I think the coaches are going to vote on it coming up within the next week or so, and then a recommendation will be made to the WIA one way or the other, and then it has to go through the whole committee process. So it's not a done deal, it's just a proposal. It may make it to one committee and that's it, or it may make it through to the Board of Control for approval later this spring.
No one knows the excitement of that team concept more than Riverdale. You guys were a part of the very first state team back in the day, and you've made it there a few times since that time, but it really brings a community together, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. I think, in team wrestling we've had that, and I think it does in any sport. When you have that team component that can do it, people are going to come out. They're going to, you might get your average fan that watches a little bit here and there, but they're like, oh, they're deep into the tournament or they're at the state tournament. I'll come down. You get the alumni to come back from all over around the state. And it does. It draws a lot of excitement and a lot of energy into your school and into your community.
Awesome. Jeff, you'll be out and about with some community meetings coming up here in the near future too, won't you?
Yeah, definitely. I've got, like I said, you can go to the website to get a lot of those. My first one we'll be doing during our parent-teacher conferences. So I will be doing a meeting both at the Res building and at the junior high school the night of parent-teacher conferences. So I'll be doing 2 different meetings then. That is 2 Wednesdays from today. And then I will also be at our Riverdale Showcase night, which is Thursday, March 6th. We'll be on WRCO, I think, the next time to really talk about that a lot more. That's going to be showcasing our entire district. And that night I'll be doing 2 meetings during that night. We'll have free food for everybody to come out and just see all the displays of things we're doing at Riverdale. There'll be performances from our arts department, our forensics, band, choir, some of our specialty areas within our band and choir areas will be performing. All of our elementary kids will be performing that night. And if you can skip out of a couple of those things and come on over and see me, I'll be doing 2 presentations in a room that night too, for people just that might have questions, and then I'll be out and about around. But yeah, I'll be at a number of township village meetings. Feel free. Otherwise, I'm available by phone and email too, and just like to get those questions and have those conversations with our community members.
Very important. And April 1st is the election, and that time's coming quickly, isn't it?
It is coming quickly. And it's looking at the dates and trying to balance out all the different meetings and everything, and just make sure, we don't want to also, schedule those on nights when there are activities and that. So it's, it's just wanting to balance all of that out. And yeah, April 1st will be here before we know it. So we want everybody to be informed when they go to the polls on the 1st.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in today, Jeff. We appreciate it.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
And we'll be back with Riverdale next week. You'll talk about kindergarten screening, which is coming up.
Yeah, we'll have our 4K screening along with some of the staff members that were scheduled to be in here today. And they'll talk about that Riverdale Showcase a little bit more during that time too.
We'll hope for better weather that day then too.
I hope so.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff Campbell joining us, Riverdale District Administrator, on this portion of the Morning Show.